Today we are going to be adding and distributing radicals. So in order to add two numbers with radicals, the radicals have to be identical. This is very similar to combining like terms. When you have x and y, you cannot combine them because they are not the same. You have to have x and x in order to combine to be 2x. So for letter A, this is actually pretty easy. 6 radical 11 plus 9 radical 11. To do this, you just add these front two numbers. 6 plus 9 gives you 15. The radical part just stays the same. Okay? Works the same way if you are subtracting with the same. Now you just have to remember that there's an invisible 1 here. So 1 times the square root of 3 minus 5 square roots of 3. Well, 1 minus 5 will give you negative 4. And the square root of 3 just tags along. For letter C, if you notice, these two numbers underneath the radicals are not the same. If they are not the same, you have to try and break them down. So, can I break 3 down? What goes into 3? Oh no, nothing goes into 3, so I have to leave this one alone. But the 12, I can break into 4 and 3. And then I can break 4 down into 2 and 2. So 2 can't be broken down anymore. 3 can't be broken down anymore. So I have a pair of 2's and a 3 left over. So I can rewrite this. Again, the first part stays the same. But this last part, I can now rewrite with a 2 on the outside and a 3 on the inside. Now if I look at this, my two radicals do match. So now I can subtract. 5 minus 2 is 3, and again the square root of 3 just tags along. For letter D, I'm going to start by breaking down the 32, because I can. And I notice that 32 and 18 are not the same, so I'm going to start by breaking this down into 4 and 8. 4 can be broken down into 2 and 2. 8 can be broken down into 4 and 2. And again, 4 can be broken down into 2 and 2. I have 2 2's here, 2 2's here, and 1 2 without a partner. I also have to try and break down this 18. So because I can break it down, I should break it down. So 2 and 9 are factors of 18. 2 is a prime. 9 can be broken down into 3 and 3. So I have a pair of 3's and a 2 left over for this guy. I have to rewrite this. Now I'm going to focus on what needs to be on the outside of the first number. So 5 was on the outside. I circled a 2. I circled another 2. And a 2 was left behind. I keep the minus sign in between. And this next one, I had a 4 on the outside. I circled a 3. And a 2 was left behind. Now it's just a matter of simplifying. I have to do my multiplication first. So 5 times 2 times 2 will give me 20 square roots of 2 minus 4 times 3 gives me 12 square roots of 2. Now notice how my square roots are now identical, so I can just subtract. 20 minus 12 will give me 8 square roots of 2. So that is my final answer. For the next examples, we will be distributing. So this will take you back a little ways. So for this first one, we're just going to be distributing the square root of 10 into this one parenthesis. So to do that, you're just going to multiply if they're both on the inside and multiply if they're both on the outside. So for this first one, 10 times 6, they're both inside radicals, so I can get the square root of 60, plus 3 and the square root of 10 are not on the same part, so you have to just keep them separate. 3 stays on the outside because it wasn't in a radical. The square root of 10 stays on the inside because it wasn't a radical. Now I have to try and break this down. So 60, what goes into 60? 6 and 10. What goes into 6? 2 and 3. What goes into 10? 2 and 5. I have a pair of 2's, and I have a 3 left and a 5 left. What goes into 10? 2 and 5, but I can't do anything with that. So if I rewrite this, my very first part will have a 2 on the outside and 15, because 3 times 5 left behind makes 15, plus 3 stays on the outside, and I can't do anything, so plus 10. Now notice I can't add these together because there's a 15 here and a 10 here. I already tried breaking it down and it didn't get me like terms. So I just have to leave them separate. So I just am leaving them as 2 square roots of 15 plus 3 square roots of 10. There's nothing more I can do. For this next problem, it's going to be a 2-part distribution. So this will take you back a couple units. So I need to take this first parenthesis and write it out vertically. So square root of 6, and then negative, because it's minus, 2 square roots of 3. And then I'm going to take this next parenthesis and write it right behind both of these factors. So square root of 6 plus the square root of 3. Then I'm going to do 2 distributions. So I'm going to distribute this square root of 6 into the parentheses here, and I'll distribute the negative 2 square roots of 3 into this parentheses here. So 6 here and 6 here are both in the parentheses, so I'm just going to multiply them right away. So that'll be the square root of 36. Plus, again, 6 and 3 are both in the square root, so I can multiply. Square root of 18. Here's where it gets a little bit trickier. The negative 2 has to stay on the outside. So because 3 and 6 are both on the inside, that's the only 2 numbers that I'm going to multiply. So 3 times 6 gives me 18. So I have to do negative 2 square roots of 18. Notice how I'm lining up my square roots. If I have the same number of a square root, I'm lining up my columns. The next one is square root of 3 times square root of 3, which will give me negative 2 square roots of 9. So now I just have to combine these. So square root of 36 is just going to drop down. I have 1 square root of 18, and I have negative 2 square roots of 18. 1 plus negative 2 will give me negative 1 square roots of 18. This guy, I'll have negative 2 square roots of 9 because he also just drops down. Now I'm going to try and break down all of these radicals. So 36, let's see, 3 and 12 go into 36. 3 is a prime. 12 can be broken down into 4 and 3, and then 4 can be broken down into 2 and 2. So I have a pair of 3's and a pair of 2's. For 18, that can be broken down into 2 and 9. 9 can be broken down into 3 and 3. So a pair of 3's and a 2 left over. For this next one, 9 can be broken down into 3 and 3 is all, so a pair of 3's. So for this first one, I have circled a pair of 3's and a pair of 2's. So 3 times 2. For this middle one, I'll have a minus still. 1 times 3 on the outside, 1 from here, 3 from the circle, with a square root of 2 is left behind. This last one, we'll start with the minus 2 still, and then times 3 because I circled a pair of 3's. No radical here because nothing was left behind. So now I have to again do my multiplication. So 3 times 2 is 6, minus 1 times 3 is 3, square roots of 2, minus 2 times 3 is 6. Now I can simplify even further. I can take 6 minus 6, which is 0. So they cancel each other out. One's positive, one's negative. So all I'm left with at the end of this problem is just 3 square roots of 2, which is a lot of work to get down here.